Hi everyone, rents in Ireland are completely out of control. The latest report released by daft.ie today have claimed that only 1,901 homes are available to rent on Daft. That's down nearly 25% on the 1st of November 2024. And of course rents have spiralled during that period. They're a third higher than before the times of COVID-19, and they're 2/3 higher, according to Daft, from the Celtic Tiger peaks of 2007. It's 18 quarters in a row rents have increased. Now an average two-bed apartment in Ireland is rented now at over €2,080 per month. That's well over €25,000 per year. And if you consider a two-bed in South Dublin City, where I am today in Harold's Cross, is about nearly €2,600 per month. Absolutely extortionate. And of course more people are being forced into poverty, into homelessness, and this is all down to deliberate government policies. And they're going to say we need more supply, and of course their answers are to incentivise private investment and to look after their corporate vulture landlords. And at the same time they won't speak about the demand side measures, where Irish population has increased nearly by 500,000 within the last 5 to 6 years, of course, which pushes pressure on accommodation costs and puts prices up essentially across rental market and also across those who are willing to or looking to buy homes as well in Ireland. And at the same time, the answers with the Irish political establishment is to incentivise private investment in the private market, much the same as this development here in Harold's Cross Road, known as Ellenville. Now, people might remember along here this beautiful village of Harold's Cross, which is about 2 to 3 miles from the GPO on the south side of Dublin. That was the old classic cinema site. Originally the Kenilworth Cinema was built there in 1953, and people might remember the classic cinema, which was an iconic local fixture in the community and an owner by the name of Albert Kelly, who had a picture house there for over 50 years. 2003 it closed down. Now I have my own memories of the classic cinema there as well. My first cinema I went to was actually the classic cinema here. But this site was flipped a number of times, left idle, and of course speculators and developers came on board to make massive windfalls from this. And currently this is the supply the Irish government want. Well over €2,400 per month for a one-bed apartment. Absolutely just off the charts in terms of the cost of this. And if you consider rental yields in Ireland, they're running, according to estimates, about 7.5%, which is amongst the highest in the world. There's 91 apartments there. It goes back around 3 blocks, if I could show you a little bit closer. And rents from there would pull about €3 million plus a year for that owner of those developments, which is a company that's linked to, secretary is Porrick Drain, and it's a company called Dean Castle Development. Of course they have offshoots like Garba Homes and other offshoots as well. And what's really interesting with this is this development, as I said, is more of this build to rent apartment blocks, and it's a gated community, keeps everybody shut off from the local area. Of course this contravenes the Dublin City Council development plan around gated communities. There should be permeability through these developments, but of course you can circumvent that if you're one of the big developers like the owners of this site here in Harold's Cross. So this is the type of supply that the Irish government are pushing forward to force more people into, because they've stopped building to a massive extent public housing following the agenda from the European Union in terms of the bailout. Part of that was to open the door to corporate institutional vulture landlords. And of course Owen Murphy, when he was housing minister, spoke about more professionalising the private rented sector. And of course that puts massive pressure on people who were trying to access a home, and so much money is being pumped into the financialisation of housing across Europe and even in Ireland. And it's quite parasitic in nature because it doesn't offer any real value to the economy in terms of regenerating money around the local economy. It just sucks money from people who are working, and many people who aren't. For instance, it could be eligible for social housing, and of course that's the €1 billion a year that's transferred through housing assistance payments, for instance, as well, into private hands rather than build public homes for people. But this is part of the agenda of the Irish government, the neoliberal agenda across the European Union. And of course, what's really important with this is that this is just extortionate rents. And as I said, rental yields, this is a real manna for these private developers to come in. And at the same time, they'll say, well, it's difficult, we need to reduce barriers to entry and we need more supply. And of course, they'll say there's a shortfall of about 200,000 homes, according to the Housing Commission and many economists. And of course, there is a shortfall in supply. But at the same time, what kind of supply are they looking to build? The same sort of supply like the build-to-rents here, which again are going to force people into a lifetime of insecurity, pain through the nose through private rents, and as I said, forcing more people into poverty and homelessness at the sharpest. And rather than spend our public money prudently and build proper communities with public homes and proper facilities for people. But this is at the same time where the European Union, we're pushing this agenda towards the privatisation of housing, the financialisation of housing through the neoliberal model. And of course, at the sharpest end, it's ordinary people that are paying the cost of what's taking place in Ireland. And even in terms of the DAF figures today that came out, what is revealing with this also is very, very important, because it's shown areas, for instance, such as Waterford, have double-digit rent increases in the last year. We've also seen many more towns and counties quite close to Dublin nearly having double-digit rent increases. Rather revealingly, Offaly rents for a two-bed apartment are up nearly 18% within the last year as well. So it shows you this is happening in an inverted effect sort of to the Celtic Tiger, where house prices went up in the Dublin commuter belt, as they call it. You can see that now with the stress of people travelling, for instance, to Dublin to work, in terms of now being forced into unaffordable rented accommodation. So this is just lunacy. But this is what's taking place in Harrods Cross, just a snapshot of the bigger picture of why we need proper community, democratic-led planning systems where people are involved in what's taking place. And of course, everything that happens is all developer-led. And of course, this works at the behest of the big bankers who are making massive fortunes from this. Just up the street here, just around the corner actually, you can't see it's a bit blocked there. But I did a video, which I'll add a link to as well, a number of months ago, around the Irish Strategic Investment Fund, which is our public money again, being funneled off into these institutional investors as well. And many based outside Ireland as well, making massive, massive windfalls. So it's a flow of international capital. And of course, the flow of labour comes with that as well. So to talk about demand side measures, supply side measures rather than demand side measures. But of course, this is part of their bigger agenda. They don't care about working classes, the ordinary people who just can't, who are suffering, many who are forced to emigrate. This is the reality to what's taking place. We need to be aware of all these developments and what's taking place in the bigger scheme of things right across Ireland. So thanks so much for all the support with my videos. Hope you enjoyed the little walkthrough and a little bit of nostalgia, for instance, around the classic cinema. If you have any memories around that, share them and tell you exactly what's taking place in Dublin. Take care. Slán go fóill.